Hi guys, why did the Tories lose the recent election? Well, according to pollster Sir John Curtice, the Conservatives lost about 6% as a result of Boris Johnson's partygate. They then lost the same amount again as a result of Liz Truss's mini-budget. In both cases, trust amongst voters took a massive hit. Couple this with 14 years of driving public services into the ground, and we're getting to the core reason for the Conservatives' recent removal from office. James Cleverly MP and former candidate for leader was hosting a show where he took a call from a man named Matthew, who gave a suggestion for the future path the Conservative Party should take.
If I am just a mouthpiece for the accumulated position, from the position of my constituents, if all I'm doing is repeating what they think, how should I be judged at a general election by those constituents? If all I'm saying is, well, vote for me and I'll just say publicly what you think.
Well, that's not quite what I said.
Okay.
What I said was that the team that you're playing for is your constituents, not the Conservative Party. Yes, you are a member of the Conservative Party, but the team that you should be playing for is that of your constituents. In terms of how you represent them, that's down to the individual. That's why they elect you, because they like the way that you hopefully will represent them. It's very clear the reason why the Conservative Party had such a horrible defeat was because there was no faith, there was no trust, and it all went completely and utterly out the window. And if I'm brutally honest, I think the Conservative Party needs someone they can get behind and go, do you know what, I trust that person, I like that person, I think they're genuinely going to do what they say they're going to do. And the last Prime Minister, I think, that had that was David Cameron.
David Cameron. Okay. I would actually disagree. I think it was probably Boris Johnson, to be honest. Now, look, it's important to separate the members from the voters, because the members will generally prefer somebody a bit more extreme, while the voters will probably prefer somebody a bit more moderate. Now, what he's saying here about David Cameron, to a certain extent, is true. He was able to reach out beyond the traditional Conservative base. He was able to convince more people to vote for the Conservative Party. But you don't want to go back to somebody like David Cameron, especially not David Cameron himself, and I don't see that happening. But it is interesting that what the Conservatives are trying to do now is say, okay, we need to go back instead of going forward. They keep talking about, what would Thatcher do? What would Margaret Thatcher do in this situation like this? Maybe Kemi Badenoch needs to be more like Margaret Thatcher. No, Kemi Badenoch needs to present her own vision. I don't think she can achieve that. But if I was giving her advice, apart from just resign, I would say you need to come up with a vision. You need to show the public that there's an alternative. See, Nigel Farage has presented his vision. We don't know exactly what Keir Starmer's vision is. Maybe just to grow the economy. Maybe to fund public services, to rebuild public services. But you have to present an alternative vision. And it has to be something that will resonate with people. It's sort of curious that James Cleverly here was asking, what am I supposed to do? You're the MP. You should know these things. So when you're an MP, you have to represent your constituents after the election. But before the election, you have to appeal to as many people as possible. So you have to present policies that will benefit ordinary people. See, the Conservatives, using first past the post, have avoided doing that and have just used divide and rule policies. You're going to try and trick people into voting for the Conservative Party. Talk about we're going to bring down immigration and then just not do it. Talk about how we're going to cut taxes and this is going to funnel more money into people's pockets, when in reality it doesn't. Talk about building lots of hospitals, getting Brexit done. Lie to the public in order to convince enough people to vote for you. That has been the Tory trick or policy for the last number of years. But it's run out of steam. You need to actually come up with a policy that's going to benefit people. But the caller is right when he talks about trust. Trust has been completely destroyed. So you need to rebuild trust. I don't know how the Conservatives can actually do that. Maybe time will be on their side. So if you give it enough time, people will forget about the last 14 years. And people have, in some cases, forgotten about the last 14 years because we've seen certain polling which would point to the Conservatives regaining a lot of lost ground, a lot of lost seats. And that's extremely worrying. It means the general public who kicked them out a few months back are willing to welcome them back with open arms. James Cleverly probably would have been the best candidate for leader. He's a bit more pragmatic. He's a bit more moderate. He's somebody who could actually distance himself from Nigel Farage. He's a better speaker than Kemi Badenoch. I'm not saying that he's a great politician, but if you look at the shower that were available, he was probably the best. And there's perhaps still a chance for him to become the leader. I think the Conservatives would be better off with somebody like James Cleverly than Robert Jenrick or Kemi Badenoch. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.